Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Today from McFarlane Toys and their DC Multiverse line, we are featuring the Gold Label Collection Kyle Rayner with Kilowog. Alright, so this was a highly anticipated 2-pack from McFarlane Toys. It came out last year. It's awesome in so many different ways. For one, you got Kyle Rayner finally in his very iconic evergreen costume. And then, more importantly, we got Kilowog, the drill sergeant of the Green Lantern Corps. It's a beast of a figure. It's just gigantic. In addition to the figures, you got the 2 trading cards. We have Kyle on the left and Kilowog on the right. You can see John Stewart behind them. They have small little bios on both characters. I've said this before, but I kind of wish they had put the biographies also on the back of the boxes. I kind of feel like they take a cheap shortcut by just giving you that giant comic book image. But it'd be nice, for them to list the bios on the back, besides just being on the trading cards. We got the stands, which we always get in the DC Multiverse line of figures. These stands, they seem perfect for Kyle, but they're almost impractical for Kilowog because he's so huge. In addition to the figures, we're also getting an extra hand for Kyle. I already swapped it out. The stock hand was the fist, but I wanted the weapon-wielding hand right here. And then speaking of weapons, lots of accessories. The one thing I'm very stoked on is that they actually gave us the lanterns for the figure. For example, I believe the John Stewart figure, which was the first Green Lantern in the series, the only thing he came with was his weapon. No lantern accessory, but these. We have the big giant lantern for Kilowog. And then we have Kyle's much more futuristic looking lantern right there. The other accessories we've gotten before with Kyle. We have the green light, the hard light constructs of his katana blade and his samurai armor. And this simply just place it over his torso. And then we also get this really cool giant cleaver-like sword. This almost looks like something out of the game Final Fantasy. This one could be wielded either by Kyle or Kilowog. I think Kilowog would be able to hold it as well. And then we get the giant hammer, which is definitely for Kilowog. The girth of the handle is just too large for Kyle to handle. And this is great. If Kilowog really wants to tenderize his bad guys, this is the one to go to. And let's take a look at the figures. Let's start with Kyle first. Kyle stands in at about 7 1/4 inches tall. Here he is next to his Justice League teammate Batman. And it seems about right. Keep in mind this is an older DC Multiverse figure, so it's slightly larger than the newer figures that we get nowadays. I always digged the relationship between Kyle and Bruce. Bruce, he never really seemed to take to Hal Jordan, but for whatever reason, Kyle, he was very fond of. This looks to be identical to the first Kyle figure we got a few years ago. The only thing different is the colors on the costume. Like I stated, this is the much more iconic, classic costume for Kyle. What set him apart, besides being the torchbearer of the Green Lantern Corps, is that his costume is predominantly black. A nice head sculpt. The mask is on his face. He looks down about there. Looks up, alright, it's pretty decent. So if you want to get him in flying poses, you could kind of recreate that. He has the ball-socketed butterfly joint. And then you'll notice a bicep cut for swivel, double-pinned elbows, articulated wrists. The armor pieces look really, really good, as does the texturing on his bodysuit. He features a cut at the abdomen, allowing him to kind of roll around a little. Doesn't really want to crunch forward, doesn't really want to arch back. It almost kind of feels like this cut here is unneeded. He swivels at the waist. Legs kick up, but the movement is restricted by the lower waist section. There's a very mild swivel toward the top where the hip connects to the leg. Double pinned knees, articulated ankles, and toes. So it's a very stock articulation for the Kyle figure. And let's get to the main event. I think a lot of people want to see Kilowog. We have the Drill Sergeant, the Green Lantern Corps. He's always calling all the new recruits poozers. A beautiful figure. You'll notice there's some like light green or yellow dry brushing on his uniform. It adds layer and depth to the beautifully textured bodysuit. Now, Kilowog has a face that only a mother can love. It's hard to see his eyes because his eyes are red, and there's like a darker pink for like eyeshadow. I kind of wish they'd paint at least his tusks a slightly different color just to kind of differentiate it from the flesh tone. You know, even though it's kind of accurate, I kind of wish it just needs a little bit of separation because his head just looks like one giant like pink blob. There is some hints of shading around the face and the brow, but I feel like it could be done a little bit better. But it's don't get me wrong, it's still a beautiful looking figure. Very heavy too. This is a brick. Awesome looking boots. Beautiful texture applied to the boots as well. This guy stands in at a whopping 9 inches. And here he is next to Batman. You can see it just completely towers over Batman. And I do have another McFarlane figure. We have the Malefic Spawn from the Mortal Kombat line. Yeah, it's a beast. The one thing, as awesome as he is, his weight, he's just very, very heavy. So I don't think getting him to stand is going to be an issue, but if you want to get him in much more dynamic poses, that might be challenging. My figure also, the limbs are very, very loose. You can kind of see they kind of flop around. I'm not sure if that's due to the weight or if the sockets are just not tight enough to like provide a snug fit. And you can see the ball socketed washer kind of just floats around a little. It doesn't really allow for extra range of motion, but it seems like it's more so just to cover the gaps. But it's still an amazing figure. Again, very, very top heavy. Yeah, my only disappointment, like I said, the joints on my figure at least are just very loose. Hopefully your copy is better than mine. In terms of articulation, his head swivels, doesn't really look up or down. Arms move. Again, you can see how loose the limbs are on my figure. There's a bicep cut. I believe this is a single pinned elbow. Articulated wrists. And this is nice though. The diaphragm cut does provide for a nice range of motion. You know, unlike the Kyle figure where it doesn't really do anything, this one, it really gives you a lot of mobility and posability as well. It's a little gappy at the waist. You can notice, like, as soon as you start tilting them to the side, it kind of opens up. It's not a deal breaker, but it seems like there could have been a cleaner way of doing it. Legs kick up, but very restricted by the lower waist piece. And then to kick outward. 2 very large pins for the knees, articulated ankles and toes. It would have been nice if the pin for the toe was green. You know, with it being black, kind of breaks the illusion. Overall, a much needed figure in your Green Lantern Corps collection. You know, we've gotten Sinestro, we've gotten Hal, we've gotten Abin Sur, we've gotten John Stewart. You know, for me, I'd really love a Simon Baz or Jessica Cruz. But awesome set. You know, this is really well worth the purchase. I believe this is going for a pretty high markup on the secondary market. So, you know, you just want to make sure you get this for a fair price. I was lucky when I got this. You know, I pre-ordered this on Amazon, and I got it for plain old retail. But if you're hunting this down now, you know, just be prepared. It might cost you a small little fortune. All right, so with that being said, let's wrap this one up. Once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.